All right, I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is June 8th, 2021, and it is currently 6:35. My name is Lynn Fiddler. I'm the chair of the board, and each of you members here in front here are part of our board. We have Chris Belisos, Larry Keane, Heidi Conway, and Brian Murphy on the end, and this is town council Bob Galvin. So I'd like to remind you all that your images are being recorded, your voices are being recorded, the attachments also are part of the record. So just be mindful of that. We have a nice rapport with our public, so I hope that remains part of tonight's discussion as well. So for this evening, because this is a hybrid hearing, I want to make sure that our audience and anybody listening and understands this is also possible for Zooming. This is meeting ID 871-0981-5546, passcode 037592. And if you are going to call in, Nancy, would that be part of, we have the ability to call in, and where would that phone be?
Yes, and they would need to use star 6 to make that.
And star 6, and that will come through what audio?
That would come through.
Andrew's audio? Okay, I'm just making sure. Hey, how are you?
Good.
Look at
Come to the camera.
you.
Well, Andrew said it would come to a speaker on.
Pretty sure it's gonna, and it will come.
It'll come through that speaker? Okay, all right.
I've not been fully briefed on the technical.
So we're gonna
capabilities
try
of
to-
that.
So we
hope so.
So the plan is that is how this is going to go. But the bill was filed with Governor Baker on May 25th, 2021, and extends these provisions related to the Commonwealth's open meeting law until September 1st, 2021. And this is part of our agenda as well. So for this evening, I just want to remind the board where we are with a few of our hearings. We had a continued hearing to date certain on 6/8/2021, which is obviously this evening. We had a case 2129, which was a request for a special permit on 114 White Road. We'll also be hearing that this evening, as it also is in front of us for a variance. We also have a case 21-28, which is American Towers LLC. The applicant has requested a continuance to June 22nd. Is that still the case, Nancy?
It is.
Okay. And then we have one hearing in July and one in August, according to our, okay. So we're talking about June 22nd, 2021 for American Towers, which is 0 Snow Road. And I would need the board to grant that continuance. So I'm going to ask for a second to grant the continuance on case 2128 to June 22nd. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Heidi Conway. All those in favor? We're going to just go down the board, starting with Chris. Chris?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi? Aye. Lynn? Aye. Mr. Feeney?
Yeah,
I
aye.
always call him Mr. Feeney, Attorney Steve Feeney. And Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that has been continued. Okay, yes. We also have a request from case 1981, which is DJ Sullivan Collision Center, which is 612 Plain Street, which this board has had in front of us for a few years now. And we are working towards hopefully an end result to this. But the applicant has again requested to continue this hearing to July 13th. Does the board have any comments or anything they want to say about this? Before, okay, we're good. Okay, then I would like to make a motion to grant that continuance to July 13th at 6:30 certain for DJ Sullivan, case 1981. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Heidi. All those in favor? Chris?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi? Lynn, aye. Steve?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right, so that case is now continued. All right. Currently, so the board's aware, the next hearing that we have also 1, 2, 3, 4 hearings, which we will be hearing for the first time. So, is there anything else going on with that next hearing that I need to know about? Okay.
Ed Pesci will be giving a zero update.
Oh, that's right. So, Ed Pesci, engineer for Madeira, which is our 40B in the town of Marshfield, is coming to fruition, and he is going to give his final, I believe it's a final, correct? Do you know?
Yes, it is.
Is it the final
It is
for that
final.
phase, the
Yep.
final phase for, okay,
Final
Alrighty.
report for completion of Ladera.
excellent. Alrighty. Any more comments on that, what I had to say? We're good? Okay, let's get right to it then. Okay, do we have the applicant for 114 Dwight Road, Stephen Sawyer, with us this evening? He's on Zoom. Stephen Sawyer, can you hear me?
He's muted.
Just a minute, Stephen, while we get this up. Stephen, you may not need to unmute yourself as well. Oh, I can,
He's unmuted.
Stephen, can you hear me?
Selectmen are muted too. This office is muted on the screen.
On the top. Thank you. That should be it. Stephen Sawyer, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to read your request for a variance into the record and remind the board that I did read your special permit in at the previous hearing, but, and then we'll get right to it, okay?
Sounds good.
Alrighty. This is case 21-29A, Stephen Sawyer, in accordance with 305-10.11 of the Marshfield Municipal Code. The petitioner is seeking a variance for relief from 305-6.02 and 305-6.10. This is a table of dimensional and density regulations. To replace a 24-foot by 12-foot deck, which will include a 10.5-foot by 12-foot screened porch on the property located at 114 Dwight Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel H15-1501 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So Stephen, do you want to reiterate your request for a variance as we work through this application?
Absolutely, sure. So, yeah, basically there was an existing deck, it's unsafe, so looking to replace it on the same footprint, not changing the footprint, and then a portion of that deck on the same footprint would be a screened-in area. So, because of the kind of unique rear property line, we run into the setbacks. So this is a look at the plan for the deck, and there we go. If you can scroll up right there, if you're looking at it, this would be from the back of the house. So the open deck portion is on the left-hand side there, and then the screened-in portion would be intended on the right-hand side. And that again is on the same footprint as existing. So, talking, I guess, with regard to the bylaws, the topography here is over the 4-foot mark. So that kind of puts us at the setbacks as I mentioned. But again, everything is based off of existing, which also is seen on this drawing. Again, on the same footprint, just swinging the stairs to the other side. I guess the thought being trying to avoid, the limitations a little bit. and then having that 10.5 by 12 foot screen section, and then the other half or so as an open deck. And I did reach out to the neighbors. I submitted a couple letters. The two neighbors to the rear there that are shown, I reviewed the plan with them on what I'm trying to do, and they signed something saying that, you know, they were okay with it. So hopefully, you know, not having any issues as far as anyone else that's directly affected right from behind.
Okay. I believe I read that into the record, the two letters from the abutters, Pluso and Walsh. Is that correct, or is there another abutter that I do not have in front of me?
Yep, so the Walshes are straight back there, and then also where it kind of jumps towards my property, that neighbor also signed something. There is a third one that's further down, I guess in this view, to the right, that they didn't answer when I tried to reach out to them. And then of course there's a neighbor as well on my side of the street that is to the right as well. Verbally, I've reviewed it with that neighbor, they have no problem. But again, that kind of slopes away from the property and is, you know, well outside of the direct area that's affected here.
As I recall, we didn't have any abutters comment at the end of your hearing for the special permit. Is that correct, Board? No.
Yeah, there wasn't any comments last time that I recall.
Okay, good enough.
I know, like I said, my one neighbor directly to my right on White Road was in that meeting and hasn't had any issue. I've discussed it with him verbally.
All right, good enough. So I know that the board had a little bit of time to address the variance and town council and our building commissioner. But I'd like to ask Bob Galvin, town council, first to go toward the reasoning behind the variance and his thoughts on that, and then we'll see where this brings us, because this is a little different than what we thought a couple weeks ago. So Bob, would you mind sharing your thoughts?
Certainly. I viewed this as a non-conforming dwelling because it sits on a lot and it's 27 feet from the rear property line. You can see that in the left-hand corner of the plan that's on the screen. It's a 30-foot zone. So because it's pre-existing non-conforming under the law, under the rule law in the Belalta versus Brookline Zoning Board of Appeals case, the board has the authority to consider this on a special permit. And as was the case in Brookline, the bylaw that says anytime you increase the non-conforming nature of a structure needed a variance, that portion of the Brookline bylaw was voided. So to the extent that we construe our bylaw to be any different, I think we're running afoul of the Belalta ruling. So I think that this can be viewed as a special permit case if you believe that the proposed screen porch will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the pre-existing deck, which is even closer, then you can grant a special permit. So that's how I viewed it. And so the variance could be denied as moot because you have both a variance application and a special permit application in front of you.
So going forward, the Belalta case would have some sort of a impact on our bylaw for that particular.
Yeah, our bylaw could probably be updated, but when I see it come up, I'm going to alert you to it.
Okay.
You know, this doesn't mean that they don't ever need a variance, but if the pre-existing nonconformity is the fact that it's too close to the rear lot line, that changes it to a Belalta case.
Okay.
If they decide to expand this screen porch and put it on the side yard, and they weren't non-conforming as to the side yard, they'd need a variance.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's how it works. It has to be the same element that it's non-conforming to in order for it to be a special permit case. And because I viewed the structure, and I kind of ignored the deck, but because I viewed the structure already being within 30 feet, I thought it was a special permit case, and that's my opinion.
All right, are there any comments on that? It's from the board. Andrew, are you satisfied with that explanation?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. So Stephen, do you understand everything town council just explained to you and to us?
I believe so. It was a little difficult to hear, but I think, I guess really briefly, since the 27-foot mark is under the 30-foot requirement, and it's pre-existing in that it's okay to do a special permit here instead of a variance, to sum it up really briefly.
Okay, I like your thinking. So summing it up really briefly. All right, are there any comments from the public for this particular case? Again, and if you're dialing in, you need to just press *6 to be heard. Alrighty. So it's my intention to close the special permit and then deny as moot the variance unless there's further comment from the board. All right. Okay. I'd like to close case 2129, special permit for 114 Dwight Road. Do I have a second? Seconded by Heidi Conway. All those in favor of closing, I'll start on the far end. Chris?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn? Aye.
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right, so this case is closed. I'd like to also make a motion to consider the variance, which is case 21-29A, as moot. Do I have a second?
Second.
Denied as moot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chris? Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
Okay, so that is.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Which votes are counted?
Let's use Chris for this, and then we'll just alternate back and
Thank you.
forth. Okay, so is there any discussion on the special permit in regards to conditions or our requirements for items 1 through 10 to be applied by the board for our special permit? Is the board in agreement that items 1 through 10 of our special permit are agreed upon and have been met? Chris?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Wendy? Yes. Steve?
Yes.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right. So let's make a motion to grant the special permit for case 21-29. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Heidi. All those in favor? I'm going
Aye.
to stay with Chris. Chris?
Aye.
And I'm going to also take your vote, Larry. Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right. So that passed with a vote of 5-0. All righty. So now we're moving into case 2139. Do we have the applicant here for case 2139? Hi,
Hi, good evening. I'm Jack O'Leary. I'm the applicant's representative.
would you like to sit up here, or would you can do whatever,
love
whatever
to.
makes you,
Whatever works. Are you going to be
Works.
projecting the plan?
Yes, we will-
Oh, okay. So
we
this
will.
is moving. Okay.
I believe we have that for the board. Is that correct, Andrew?
What's that?
These attachments?
Yep.
But perhaps you'd like to use the easel as well, so that the audience can see that.
Sure.
Sure, but we will put it up as well. I'm going to read it in the record while you get set up. So this is case 2139, Fitzgerald Family Living Trust. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12, 305-4.03, and 305-6.10 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing structure and construct a new 24-foot by 38-foot two-story single-family dwelling on the property located at 53 Abbey Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K1209-11 and is located in an R3 zoning district. Before you get started, we did confirm with conservation that this is not part of our coastal wetlands.
Correct.
So we have that assured and that is confirmed. Anything else from planning on this?
No.
Good enough. Why don't you tell us what you have planned?
Okay, thank you. I'm Jack O'Leary with Green Seal Environmental. I'm here on behalf of the Fitzgerald Family Living Trust. The Fitzgeralds have owned this property for a number of years as a vacation home, and now they are retired and planning on living there year-round. So that's why they're doing some work to it. The house is located at 53 Abbey Street, and that is located a few streets back from Rexham Beach, and it's on the west side towards the Salt River. The ocean's on the east side to the right on the plan. It's currently occupied by a small home. I have some photographs of that which I can show on the easel. As you can see, it's a small home constructed in the 1940s, probably 47 or 48. And it's a very nice place, but it happens to be located in the flood zone, which all its neighbors share that same problem. And since they are making substantial renovations to it, they have taken a good look at it and decide, and they need to demolish the existing home and reconstruct it as an elevated structure to meet FEMA requirements. So they asked us to prepare some plans for that and prepare permit applications. We have already been in front of the Conservation Commission last Tuesday, and they voted to close the hearing, and we expect to have a order of conditions approving the project shortly. And we're here in front of you because both the lot and the existing structure are non-conforming, and therefore we require a special permit. The lot's 5,000 square feet, like most of the lots are in that area, and the current zoning is 10,000 square feet, so that's why the lot is non-conforming. The structure itself is, the existing structure is non-conforming. Its front yard setback is less than the minimum, and its side yard setbacks are less than the minimum. Shows up a little bit better on the color plan. The
I'm
existing,
getting word
Excuse
from
me
home
for a second.
that people can't hear at home.
is that microphone not on?
That microphone's on, but when you're a distance from it, people can't hear you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
The,
You can probably hold, can you pick up the microphone? Please? Aha! Just don't drop it when you're done.
that would be appreciated.
Does that seem to
On the existing,
let us know? Yes.
on the existing home is shown on this color plan with the yellow dashes. So that square here is the existing home. That's set back 14.3 feet from the road. The side yard is about 9.2 feet on either side. There's also an existing concrete deck in the back that's highlighted in yellow. That would be demolished and a new home would be built. That's shown with an orange color, crosshatched. And it's similar in footprint, but it's oriented somewhat differently so that it is more parallel to the length of the lot. It would be set back 14.8 feet, so it's set back a little further than the existing home. And its side yard setbacks would be 12.9 feet on the west side and 13.1, excuse me, yeah, 12.9 feet on the west side and 13.1 feet on the east side. So it would be more conforming per side yard setbacks. The existing deck at home would be demolished. The existing driveway is shown here in gray, that would remain. And the new home would have an entrance off the back, proposed back deck here, and another entrance on the right side onto the landscape area on the right side. There would no longer be a front door facing Abbey Street with this configuration. And we did submit some proposed elevations. And this is, the home would be elevated on pilings.
Just,
Hold on
oh,
one
you know what,
second.
just a
I
second.
think those microphones are working, but maybe the big one isn't. Is the big one working?
Do you have the big microphone in the middle working? The table microphone?
I don't think it's one of these.
How much you have? I don't know. Extra
Is there a switch on it that, how's that? Anyone, do you hear that now?
Yeah, a little bit.
How about now? Any better now?
Yeah, it's normal.
Okay. I flipped the switch, it apparently didn't make any difference, so.
Okay.
See, I gave you the, this may happen, so if we need to take maybe we should take a short recess, or do you think that we?
I'll let you know in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the proposal. As we discussed, the proposed reconstruction needs a special permit to address the non-conforming lot and non-conforming structure. So we have applied to you. Did you want me to read through the findings of fact? And,
We all have that information and we've
Okay.
reviewed that. We can put that up on the board and let the public look at that as well, Andrew, as we continue to make our way through this. Does the board have any questions on the existing site plan and the proposed project at this point?
no,
So there's just, the door, the front door is going to be on the,
on
you're
the,
looking at it to the right or the left?
it's on the, well, there's no front door anymore in this. There won't be a door facing Abbey Street.
Right.
There'll be a door on the back that's accessed from the porch. You can see it here. That's the
Right.
back of it.
Okay.
And there we go. On the right side, there's a door and a deck and a set of stairs that would provide more direct access to the street. Chances are the back entrance is going to be used most of the time because that's where the cars pull in on the driveway. The structure has been being elevated so that it meets the FEMA requirements for having its lowest structural member a foot above the flood elevation, which is 9 feet. And as I mentioned, the Conservation Commission has reviewed this. The project, by conservation, the amount of impervious area is decreased to simply the remaining shed and the pilings that the house and the deck will sit on. For zoning purposes, I thought we ought to throw the house footprint back into there because while it's not touching the ground, it's still an impervious surface, occupying space above grade, and it meets the bylaw. It's well below the bylaw threshold for that. Adequate open space is provided to meet the bylaw requirements as well.
Okay, so this board won't endorse the shed. It's been non-conforming and it's been in existence for more than 10 years, I'm presuming.
Okay, I believe so, yes.
Okay. Any comments? Do we need to take a break for technical reasons?
So I'm not quite sure if that works. I just asked him if he had any suggestions. So we finish this one and take a 5-minute break.
Sounds like a plan.
Can you speak on those next over there?
Yeah, we can do that too. Let's just work through this particular application. Andrew, I read your comments and floodplain permit, building permit, conservation permit. They've been in front of conservation, so you must be finishing up at their next hearing. There's nothing.
Hearing's closed, so
Hearing's
we're
closed,
waiting for the
wait,
order
just the
conditions.
orders. Okay, not going notice, no notice of intent or anything like that.
We filed a notice of intent,
Okay,
and they're planning on issuing an order of conditions to approve the plan as submitted.
okay. comments from the board?
I have none.
You're good? You're good, it's good? All right. Any comments from the public? Again, press *6 if you're dialing in. Seems funny I say this, I've been saying this to myself in my own little, everybody's here. Okay. So we have the deed, the application itself. Are there any comments from the board as far as granting a special permits with items 1 through 10? I'm in agreement that they have been met. Board,
I'm good.
Chris, Larry,
I'm good.
Heidi, Steve, Brian?
I agree.
Okay. All right, let's make a motion to close case 21-39. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor of closing?
Aye.
You'll be voting on this one, Larry?
Okay.
Chris? Larry? We're closing.
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
And Fiddler, aye. Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Brian Murphy?
Aye.
All right. So, case 2139, the board condition, we will not endorse the shed, and pending conservation, it shouldn't have an impact on our zoning conditions, but we'll leave it with just the shed, and if there's any other things that we need to add? No? Okay. So let's make a motion to grant the special permit for case 2139. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor? Chris?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
And your vote's counted. Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye. Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Brian Murphy?
Aye.
So a vote of 5-0. That passes. Thank you for your patience with the microphone, and
Thank you. Didn't break
have a
it.
nice
Nice,
evening.
No, it wasn't you.
So should
John
we
said
take a
that
recess?
there's nothing you can do right now, that everyone just needs to speak up.
Do we
Okay.
have, don't we have more than one microphone?
Can't we
up
just
there?
give him one of
We have
these?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough line.
Three. Stretch that out to the
Doesn't seem like I have enough. Make it closer
Maybe we
anyways.
can-
There you go. Here's the technical support.
See all that schooling?
Got some duct tape in the trunk.
Is this the same? Is this the same?
A ball peen
I
hammer.
don't know what that is.
It's the same. Where it goes to.
Oh,
It cracks.
This is-
It's better.
That's yours.
There you go.
Double mic.
Now we're in stereo. Can I hear that? Is that any better? Yes.
So actually the only microphone is on the camera base.
All right, so
None of those cameras, microphones are actually doing, so again, yeah, everybody's gonna have
Just
to
yell.
kind of speak
Shout it
up.
out.
Use your big kid voices, I suppose.
Your outside voices
Outdoor
tonight.
voices.
Okay, should we have the table down closer to the microphone?
I suppose we could do anything, yeah, sure.
Maybe we could do that. I'd like to make a motion just to take a very short recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Heidi seconds. All those in favor? Chris?
Fine.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
definitely.
Aye. Lynn? Aye. Steve?
aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Let's just move things around for a second and then,
Just move the table down for a
yeah.
minute.
Do you need a tape recorder?
Fun.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Put the extra in the glass
Fortunately, I can't move this because it's so affecting the video.
I have cough drops. I know.
Is that all you got?
I know, I didn't have a chance to go to the gym.
So Lynn is saying, oh, he's gonna mess with people.
It's coming next week. Do better next week.
I know, next time I'll do it.
So you can mess around, you can just go.
There's on the road.
Well, I have a loud voice.
You were booming voice.
It's all that singing. It's all that singing.
I think that's about all we can do.
All right, well, we're just gonna work through it. At least we're all together.
I'm gonna
I just like to make sure the applicant can be heard and we can, we'll
Yeah,
figure it
so
out.
we're on the now.
I said star six.
So they should be able to hear us on MCTV right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of how.
My son
I
still
did
has.
turn that up a little bit. I don't know if that has any effect.
There would.
Well, we're gonna do what we can do.
Okay.
All right. All right, let's call this meeting back to order. Are we all set?
It's so fast, it's too funny.
Chris, Larry,
Yes.
Peggy, Lynn, Mr. Feeney? Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Bob, Brian. Here we go.
That's what sells me.
So we have case 21-41 as our next hearing. Donna and Edward Martinowski. Do we have the applicant or their representative here this evening?
Are they online?
Take their
Good evening, this is Nicholas Knight from Great Consulting on behalf of the Marnowskis.
Nicholas, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me and see me okay?
I can. Alrighty. I'm going to read this into the record and then we'll get started, okay?
Sounds great.
Excellent. This is case 2141, Donna and Edward Martinowski. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to demolish 2 existing sheds and construct a 30-foot by 34-foot 2-story addition with an upper deck and associated stairs and 2 variances in accordance with 305-10.11, seeking relief from 305-6.10, Table of Dimensional and Density Regulations, to allow the construction of an overhang 13 feet from the front line and the construction of an upper deck and associated stairs 12.6 feet from the left lot line on the property located at 25 Secaucet Avenue, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M09-04-12 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So Nicholas, would you like to explain the project to the board and to the public?
I would love to.
Thank you.
May I share my screen?
Yeah, just a second.
Just a second.
Should be good to go.
You still have me labeled as a participant, I believe. It's not allowing me to share. I am on here twice, one for audio and one for video, so you may have gotten the wrong one.
There you go.
You should be all set?
That looks like it's working. Alrighty, let me, there we go. Let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it, but if you could expand in on it for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'll go in the order that it was read in actually, just because I think that makes the most sense. So as stated, we have a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a undersized lot, which is the reason for the special permit application. And we are proposing to remove these 2 sheds here, one here. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse moving around to try and guide you, but we have one here and one over here. We're proposing to remove both of those and construct an addition basically where those 2 are. The addition, let's zoom in a little bit more, might be a little bit more bolded for you. I'm going to swing over to the front of the house here, where we are proposing the overhang over the front entry. It is only about 1.5 feet, as we are not looking to protrude too far into the front setback, but we'd just like to provide a little bit of cover from the elements for the owner as they enter and exit their dwelling. And then I will slide over to what would be the left-hand side if you're looking at it from the street here. And this would be the reason for the 2 variance requests. We have, or not 2, but for the second variance request, we have the stairwell, which comes up from the rear actually along the side here. And as you can see, it is 12.6 out of the 15 required off the side lot line. And so that is the reason for the proposed variance request. At this time, I will turn to the board and see if there are any questions or comments that I can help answer.
Andrew, did you get a chance to address this project?
Yep.
This doesn't have a site plan, this is just renderings. Oh, sorry, everybody.
For me, I mean, essentially it's pretty plain what they're looking for is a variance to encroach into the setback for the deck and stairs. And ultimately, I mean, that's for the board to decide whether they're going to grant that variance or not. Obviously, they have the expansion and, you know, the room to expand this size. They're looking for the variance for the egress. Typically, we give that to houses that we're elevating for flood reasons. This isn't in a flood zone, but it is an egress from a habitable space. But again, I think there is a potential for them to design it to be within the setbacks. But again, that's for the board to decide that, you know, it doesn't affect building code either way, so.
Any comments from the board?
I would just, on the staircase, so we generally allow 42 inches into the setback for egress, without a variance. So I don't know if that changes.
There's a deck there too,
All right,
at the top.
top, so how much of the deck is into the setback?
3.5 feet.
How much is it? 42. So it's 42 inches.
Make it bigger?
Yeah, can you expand
we
it on
allow
that a
that.
little bit more?
I think the
The photo does help.
The photo gives you a lot better idea.
Oh, so the stairs don't go from the deck to the...
They do.
Let's go by
The
there.
deck is being built.
I did go by.
Concrete thing on the side, what is that part of this
Our
one,
deck
the
is like
plan?
12 feet or something. For egress,
Are you-
we've done
Is
this.
that, is that,
Just a second, we have 2 conversations going on.
All right.
Can you share with the board
Yeah, so
your
Bob and I were just
conversation?
discussing the egress, 42 inches into the setback. And I know we've done that on a bunch of homes. One of them, we actually came down, went 42 inches into the setback because they had a straight staircase, and then they had to turn it and go left. They
Right, I
couldn't,
remember.
you remember that?
Yeah,
So
I
they
do.
couldn't go straight down because we had to hold 42 inches as long as they held the 42 the whole way
Was
down.
that their only, was that
It's
the
just, it
egress?
wasn't, it was strictly egress.
A necessary
It's the second,
egress.
it's the second egress, so is this, what egress is this on this house?
what's the one for the shed?
It's, I mean, I'd have to look at the architecturals to refresh myself. But I think that's an enclosed space separate from the rest of the house.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, I know, you remember that one,
Yeah, I
right?
do.
When we made them cut the stairs and turn them,
Yeah,
just to hold the 42
I
inches.
think we changed the width of the stair runners
Yeah,
on one
and
end.
we made it
and
down to
then made it
42,
different.
so they're allowed to have a walkway and then come down, and that's what we did with that house.
Nick, do you have the architectural drawings you can put up?
I believe I do. Give me one
I think,
moment.
Len, do you remember,
So,
the one that kept changing the feet on?
I think sheet 83
Right
gives
next
you
to
a pretty
the
good
yard.
look.
I can't think of his name, Solomon?
Salamando,
Was that one that he had to do the treated stuff
yeah.
because he was in the 5-foot setback?
It's 2 feet.
So I agree with Chris that if we're looking at the actual rendering itself, it helps the board to,
It's sheet 83.
Solomon knows it's one of them. He allowed for egress.
I believe I have the architecturals up for you.
Sure, Nick, can you go to A3, because I think that gives everybody the best idea of what we're looking at?
That should be A3 for you.
That's it.
Thank you. Can you
zoom
expand in?
Yeah, sure. Where would you like me to zoom into?
Go ahead, Chris, take the lead.
Well, if you're looking at the, if the question is the stairway, it's either lower, center, or upper left.
Yeah, so they have an interior staircase that serves as one means of egress, and then the second means of egress for that space is through the exterior stairs.
And the question is the placement of the stairs.
Correct. And the reason for that second means of egress is because it doesn't connect to the other side of the house. I believe there's no doorway in to the other side of the house.
So Seconded is to the far right, and that's the main entrance.
Where the overhang is. So these stairs are just coming back to the backyard, right? The stairs are coming down to the backyard.
The side yard.
Side yard.
Side yard to the left.
Yeah, they're on the side, but they're going down into the back, like they're pointing towards the back.
Yes.
They're at
Across,
32
down.
feet from the rear right now.
You're right, you're right.
But it's the side setback that we're dealing with.
Pardon me?
It's the side setback we're dealing with.
The one on the left.
Not much land left.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
the public will have a chance to speak in a second.
All right.
Can you go to the, Nick, can you go up to the top left? I'm sorry, opposite, yeah, down there, yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Brian, do you see any other option?
Well, I
Andrew?
mean, I don't know, Andrew, what do you think?
It's not our job to present options, but I
I
don't.
think we can make a,
The only other option is they would build some sort of a staircase that fell within the setbacks. It's either that or you grant them a variance.
like,
for
so if they
this.
went into the backyard with this,
Or they don't have a side door.
Then they'd probably encroach less into that setback than they would into the side setback.
So is this, if that's, is the garage on the bottom half? Is that what we're looking at? And then on top of it, it's gonna be the extra space or whatever?
That's correct.
So do they not have, it looks like there's another door there. Do they have an entrance just to go and be able to go in that way? And then maybe just another door on the back half? Like, instead of having this on the sides?
right?
And then you eliminate all of that? I'm just asking.
It's not up, it's not.
I know that it's
really
not up to us, but if everyone's throwing stuff.
So we're here for the variance, so we're looking at the overhang on the front, 13 feet from the front lot line, and the construction of an upper deck and associated stairs, 12.6 feet from the left lot line. That's your variance that we're
So the
pondering.
one on the front, yeah, we don't need a variance, right, Lynn, because it's 15 feet, it's covering below, it's a 2-foot in the overhang. Right?
Yeah, no issue with one in the front, I don't think.
No, there's no issue with the front.
Right,
So
it's
it's
the
just,
side, it's the side. So then we need to struggle with the variance and whether or not it would apply in this case. And that response is in Form 2B, findings of fact, variance. Nick,
Yeah.
would you mind explaining the findings of fact and the reasoning for your request for the variance? So you're looking at Form 2B.
I can take the screen share back.
I think that if we allow Andrew to continue, it'll work. We also had a D.
Does he have the capabilities again?
Just a
Yeah, I
second,
have
we're
it.
working on it.
Okay.
You wanted the application, Lynn?
Yes, please.
For the variance.
Yes, please, Form 2B. I just want to see the verbiage again and allow the public to see it as well. Board members, do you have any comments on Form 2B and how it's been proposed to us as far as reasoning? Brian?
I have
I'm
none.
sorry, I'm not sure if that was a question to me, I couldn't quite hear
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm asking the board. Brian,
I have none.
you have no comment? No, okay. Chris? We'll just go back.
I'm struggling with number 2.
Yeah.
Literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the undersigned for the following reasons. The literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw would inhibit improvements on the Lewis property as an additional of smaller scope would be financially impractical. Okay.
How does that make sense?
Would you go to the next page, Andrew? Larry, do you have any comments?
Would it be proper to hear from the public, or give some input on this, and then to rediscuss it after?
We can do that. Do we feel like we at this point have all the information we need? We have the deed, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I'm happy with doing that, and we'll take it from there. Are there any comments from the public? Hi.
Hi,
Identify-
identify myself for the record. My
Please.
name is William Egan, and I think I'm speaking loud enough. It's one of my talents, my wife tells me. I'm an attorney from Whitman, and I'm here representing Brian and Susan Dolan with the Butters. And, you know, taking a look at all these documents that have been filed by the petitioners here, is that it's pretty clear that what they're trying to do is add a unit to this property. An additional kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, in addition to the main house. And it does, in my opinion, and in the opinion of my clients and some of the neighbors as well, that you're in a neighborhood that most of the houses are around 1,100, 1,200 square feet, I believe, and you're adding a 2,000 square foot addition on top of the existing property right there. And it takes away from that, the integrity and the character of the neighborhood, clearly. And if you look through the requirements for the variance in this case, or the special permit, that's the expansion, applied for the expansion of the non-conforming use, I think it is detrimental to the neighborhood. It's particularly the use of the Butters property. Having a two-story, 2,000 square foot addition put right there. It definitely affects their use of the property. I think it goes against the intent of what the bylaw is, you know, the requirements that you've mentioned here today to request grant a special permit or a variance. I can go through them individually if you so wish. I've already brought up some of them, but several things. It's going off the variance discussion a little bit, so if you want me to hold off on any of my comments, I will. But one thing that stuck out for me, and it's in Mr. Lang's submission, is that they're adding bedrooms, which obviously was going to affect water and soil as is being provided by the municipality and on site. And they're only mentioned in the findings of fact is that they're going to have a discussion with the Department of Public Works. Obviously, I think that's a requirement prior to the granting of a variance or a special permit in this case. Other things I've talked about is obviously the integrity and character of the neighborhood. How this 2,000 square foot home addition is definitely going to negatively affect and take away from the abutters property and the use of this as a second unit. And that's the other thing, in reading the town's bylaws, you know, I'm not sure why this was filed this way, because, you know, adding a bathroom, kitchen, and bedrooms to a property with a garage on the bottom, which I'll talk about that in a second, is really, I think, falls under the, I think it's with the residential accessory apartment, I believe is the phraseology used in the bylaws, and it wasn't filed there, which even under those requirements under the bylaw, I don't think this application fits those requirements and is entitled to a permit or approval by the board to construct this addition. And you look at that requirement alone under that section, it can't take up more than 40% of the lot, and obviously this is taking a great deal of it. So I know the board is discussing the stairwell here, but I think it's a bigger issue here as far as what this application is really trying to, or this petition is trying to do, is add a second unit to the property. If you look at the plans, I believe there's one doorway between the existing home and the new addition, the unit on that side, and also there's a front door to that property as well, which I believe under the residential accessory bylaw is supposed to be on the side, I believe. So, if you go down all 10 requirements, that I just don't think they fill either the special permit or the variance. And I know, I'm going to defer to the other neighbors now, because I know some of them have something to say, but obviously,
Okay.
time is.
Yep, so I appreciate your input, and I'd like to hear the other neighbors' comments as well, and then we'll take it as a whole. Just please identify yourself for the record.
My name's Jackie Davis. I'm the abutter at 19 Secundit Ave, to the left of this property.
I'm sorry.
Jackie Davis. So thanks for allowing us to speak tonight, and to Nancy and Andrew for answering all my questions through this process. My first comment, I'm not sure if you've had time to see it. I did send a screen capture to Nancy yesterday calling out the zoning data table and the inaccurate information listed on this plot plan. And I request that the board review the zoning data table and have it updated prior to a ruling on
Would
this
you
matter.
mind handing that to the board?
I can do all of mine.
Is this your only copy? I don't want to take it from you.
No, that's
You have
fine.
Something to reference.
No, that's fine. I know what's in there.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna
Yep, go
write
ahead. Write all
the
of
date
it.
and then give it to Nancy.
So the zoning data table, the first error I have is with the lot frontage and the lot depth. The existing and proposed frontage is listed at 80 feet. The plans itself show it at 85, or at 75. The lot depth is listed as 100 feet for existing and proposed. The plans show it as 115. My next is the max building height. If you review sheet A5, the proposed structure is called out as 25.7 feet tall, and the existing structure scales to about 26.6 feet tall. In addition, I have edits and question all of the calculations shown for the maximum building coverage and the minimum open space. Based on a review of the plans, the existing structure is 22 by 40 feet, approximately 880 square feet. The maximum building coverage that's shown on this plan is 1415. And as you mentioned earlier, the board does not endorse sheds as part of the building footprint. So I'm not sure where those numbers came from, but the zoning data table, and then the next is the property plan. Sheet 2 that you have is a printout from the town's ArcGIS. So using this, I found that the property owner's frontage to be 72.5 feet. From the deed book and decree listed in the note, I can't find the proper bearing distance information to properly determine the frontage is actually 75 feet, and I request that the board ask for additional information from the surveyor in the form of a written instrument. And the third page is deed book page, book 3, page 600, showing the uniformity in all the lots. My questions and comments on,
Can I stop you for 2 seconds? So you're referring to this as book,
that is book 3, page 600.
so there's a lot, there's a lot of information here that the
Yes.
board will need to
No,
Digest.
So I'm gonna just hand this back to Nancy, and then she'll make copies of that for the board, and we'll take it however we see fit in the next few minutes.
Okay.
Can I keep this and then give it back to you?
Yeah, you can do it. Can I continue?
Absolutely.
Do you need this to continue?
No, I don't. No. So, the variance form 2B, the applicant seeks relief from section 305-6.10 for the front yard and the side yard. And after a review of section 305-11 or 10.11 variance, I ask that the board find all 5 of the following conditions be present. 1, I'm paraphrasing, conditions and circumstances are unique to the applicant's lot and do not apply to neighboring lands or structures.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Andrew, would you put 10.11 up on the board, please?
But what,
10.11? Thank you. I'll just go up, read along with you. Yeah.
So the conditions and circumstances are unique to the applicant's lot and do not apply to neighboring lands. As you'll see in one of the sheets that I gave, that Nancy now has, all of the lots are pretty uniform. The applicant's lot is not unique, and in fact, similar to those in the surrounding neighborhood. The plan lists in note 1, the plot plan that I referenced, shows uniformity with most lots being about a quarter acre in a checkerboard pattern. The applicant's response presented in 2B, or note 1, does not address conditions 305-10.11, part 1. Instead, the applicant has simply restated their request to suggest that in order to, quote, construct an addition of reasonable scope, end quote, they require relief. The existing footprint of the principal residence contains approximately 880 square feet. The footprint of the proposed 2-story addition is approximately 1,020 square feet. The addition is larger than the existing structure, and it's irrational to suggest that the size of this addition must be larger than the existing structure, and anything less is considered unreasonable. Furthermore, the applicant contends that an addition of smaller dimensions would be financially impractical. The relief sought by the applicant is for the side setback encroachment of about 2.5 feet. If the applicant were to simply cut off the 2.5 feet, resulting in a 9% reduction, the addition would still be larger in square footage than the existing primary residence. Should the additional square footage be paramount to the financial investment, the additional square footage can be added at the back of the structure on the southwest side of the building, or the staircase could be moved to the front of the building, into the space that's a 5-foot gap between the existing structure and the proposed deck. Point 2, The strict application of the provisions of the bylaws would deprive the applicant of reasonable use. As pointed out by the applicant, the use of the residential dwelling unit within a residential, this is a residential dwelling unit within a residential district. The applicant points out in their response that, quote, literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw would inhibit the improvements to this property. It would not prohibit. It is just a request for necessity. It's one of preference and one that the building can be accommodated without this side yard variance. 3, the unique conditions and circumstances are not a result of the actions of the applicant. In the materials before you, the POP plans are dated May 2021. The architectural plans are dated December 2020. The applicant had already determined the proposed structure size prior to drafting the POP plans to see if the structure could even fit within their required setbacks. As previously stated, the structure can be accommodated without this side yard variance. 4, relief, if approved, can be detrimental to the public. As you previously heard and you see here tonight, there are many concerns from the neighbors and the people surrounding this property. 5, relief, if approved, will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon the properties in this district. An assessment of the plans submitted reveal creation of a multi-residential unit or an accessory apartment. Either one constitutes a special privilege inconsistent with the limitations put on properties in other districts or in this district. I won't go into all the elements of the special permit, but this application does not include a special permit in accordance with Article 9, Section 305-11.09. I contend that the board cannot accept nor address the current request for this application as it is incomplete and requires either a special permit for a residential accessory apartment or a variance request to establish the use of a multi-residential unit at 25 Secundit Ave. So, thank you for your time and allowing us to speak tonight.
Thank you for doing such in-depth.
I have a question for procedure.
Sure.
Now, we'll vote, the board take an initial vote on the variance, then discuss the special permit, or is this all?
Right now, I'm inclined to request the board continue to the next hearing. So
I'm
that,
inclined to agree.
yeah, so that will give us all a.
Yeah, because I could go through on,
Right, so
template form,
my
but I don't want to waste your
suggestion,
time.
yeah, my suggestion is to put it in writing. The
Okay,
board is
that was gonna be
very,
the next question.
that's our thing these days. Put it in writing, we won't have to reiterate it, and then we can all ask poignant questions toward whatever
Okay.
comments that you've made, and they'll be part of the record.
All right, so I could do a letter,
Absolutely, and
and
if there's anything
the chair
that,
of Attorney Galvin.
and-
Should I provide Mr. Lang with a copy, or will you
I would
folks
like
handle
you to do that as well.
Okay.
Unless there becomes some sort of issue between the two of you, and I hope that doesn't occur.
No, no,
so-
I've
Okay,
been doing this for
okay,
25 years.
okay, excellent, excellent. So, Nick, were you able to hear the comments?
I just want to jump in.
Yep.
Rather than send your thoughts, would you send it to me?
Oh, yes.
And then I can give
Yeah.
it to the board
Yes.
and to Ms.
Yeah,
Lai.
I'll send you over some, Nancy, thank you very much,
Yeah.
and thank you for
Oh, anytime.
answering my questions too.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's perfectly
Everybody's on the
fine,
same
because
page, board?
I was just getting warmed up, and it's,
Yeah. At least we don't have a hockey game tonight, right?
Typewriter.
I know,
We
7:40.
good? Is there anything specific that the board would like to see for the next hearing? For the next-
Getting that,
There was a lot.
Yeah.
Pardon?
did Nick get all that? Was he able to hear?
Nick, were you able to hear the comments from the board and from the public?
I could only hear about half of them.
Okay, so perhaps the best thing for you to do would be to reach out to Nancy tomorrow, outline the questions that have been brought in front of the board, and see if you can work together with Nancy and the abutters to answer their questions or have some sort of a rebuttal or refute their findings. Does that make sense? I keep looking there like that's.
That does make sense.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
happy with the opportunity.
I was gonna say, maybe you should.
I know, I keep
Out
looking.
here,
Hi,
because the
Nick.
microphone
Hi,
is
Nick.
picking up your.
It'll take a while.
I probably speak the loudest and I'm closest.
It'll take a while. I'm just happy we're together. I'll let you guys go.
Are you though?
Man, I am. You don't know what this is like doing this. Okay, So let's make a motion to continue both the special permit.
Do you have anything else?
Was there anybody else from the audience? I think.
Please,
Anybody
Erin.
else
Do
have?
you have something to
So
say?
I just have a question. So I guess, does the board find the application complete? Or is that,
We're gonna discuss.
We're
it.
continuing it.
oh, okay, so
At
that
that
will be
point,
discussed again next
If
week?
it's incomplete at this point, I'm not exactly sure what the board
We're not
will.
closing, so they could add.
So can any materials be added or subtracted?
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, I can coordinate with
Absolutely.
Ms. Davis and
Please
sort of
do.
make a collective
And I-
submission for ease of reading
Yeah, I
of the
don't-
board.
if it's not
And then to make
duplicated,
that clear, that means all parties can
Everybody
say
can.
something new, including the petitioner.
right,
Yes,
right.
it's all fair.
So we're continuing, so the record's open, you can still file with
All
us.
right, thank you very much, I
And we'll
appreciate your
hopefully
time.
work through and get everything we need, and then we can make a call on whether or not to close it next time. And then deliberate next time, or deliberate the following hearing. We only have one hearing, I don't know if you heard, we only have one hearing in July and one hearing in August. So if at the next hearing, we're unable to get all of our information together and have the board all available to deliberate, we may have to bounce it to the next hearing.
Okay.
Just giving everybody a heads up.
This is your only notice.
Nick, do you have anything
Yeah,
else
and
to
so
add
what's
before
the
we,
notice for
before we
plans
move
are
on and
submitted?
We don't
continue?
re-notify, so you come to the meeting or
Guys.
you find
Just
out.
a second.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Nick, do you have any comments or additional information that you need before we continue this hearing?
Do I have any comments or questions?
Do you have any comments or questions to the board before we continue this hearing?
To another date.
I suppose not. It sounds like you've asked me to reach out to Nancy to get an understanding of what comments and questions were raised.
Correct. So I think we're good.
I believe so.
Alrighty, thank you so much. All right, I'd like to make a motion.
Glenn, real quick, will
Yeah.
a copy of the information that was presented to the board, will that be forwarded to Grady?
I gave it to Nancy, so you'll
Yeah, and
No, we should
scan
all
it.
get a
there
copy
should
of
be
that.
one in the file. It was a late submittal, this portion.
All three.
So I'll
11
make
by
sure that
17.
everything's all together and I'll get this back to you.
Oh, yeah, you can keep it.
And then any new information that we get, we'll be sure to forward out.
And so
Is
what
that
is,
something you could email?
yeah, do you want the file?
Yeah, I
now?
can just scan this
Yeah.
and then email it to you guys.
I think she
Yeah,
could
I
email
can
to
send you the file.
Yeah,
Okay.
would that be forwarded to Grady also, so they
Oh,
can?
yeah, I mean,
Okay. yeah,
whatever's submitted by either side
We'll send it to everybody.
gets to
Okay.
the other party.
Community property.
Right, and then Grady will have to respond
Address.
in an itemized fashion.
Yeah, this
for
way-
each of her.
No one's blindsided at the
Right.
next meeting
Yep.
as to what was asked or discussed or.
Exactly.
We can review everything.
Okay,
So everything goes through Nancy.
everything goes
Yeah,
through.
so any follow-up questions we may have for Nick, we'll pass it through Nancy.
Yes.
And then if it's appropriate, she'll send it to me and
Yes.
then disseminate to the whole board.
Mhm.
Okay,
Sounds good, thank you so much.
all right, so
You're welcome.
where is my?
Thank you.
Waiting for the gavel.
No, I'm not looking for a gavel.
Just
I'm
because I
really
think
looking
we're
for
all
my
wondering about
gavel.
that second kitchen.
Here it is.
If the stove isn't there, it's not considered a kitchen.
Yeah, I'm just.
There's a stove there.
No, I know, if that's not in the drawing, it's not considered. That's-
You have to take a-
I am, I'm just
Oh,
looking
sorry.
for my,
Yeah, I see it.
I'm looking for my
In
notes.
order.
Just so you know.
Yes,
But so then how do you go to revise that, to remove it?
this is the last.
Yeah.
That's just the standard, because that
No, I haven't.
just makes it, you're not allowed a second stove.
No, so since there's one shown,
I know.
how do, I guess, you could just take those images off the plans and it's still,
I understand.
Is it the?
so then we don't really have a leg to stand on.
Just trying to let you know what the standard is.
Brian, I can't hear you or Jackie.
Yeah.
So.
What I said was, Mom, no, I was just explaining about the second stove that's on the plan.
Oh, okay.
If that's removed, that,
Yeah,
Takes away
the
that
discussion over the accessory apartment will also come up in the next hearing. and-
absolutely,
And,
there's two stoves
that
on
will,
that plan.
that will be addressed. Okay, let's make a motion to continue case 2141. Now, the next hearing is 22nd. Let's shoot for June 22nd. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of continuing case 2141 to June 22nd?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Lynn, aye. Stephen?
Aye.
Primer?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nick. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
See you in June.
Thank you so much.
The end of June.
What was that? You guys can contact
I won't call you
me.
tomorrow. All right, Andrew.
Good night. Have a nice night.
Good night, thank you.
So do we have the applicant for 53 Concord Street? Case 2142?
It's Dick Rockwood.
Hi Dick, how are you?
Good,
Good evening.
how are you?
You can hear me okay. All right, I'm going to read it into the
Yep.
record. 2142, Richard and Susan Bale. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing structure and construct a new 24-foot by 46-foot, 2.5-story, wait a minute, a new 24-foot by 46-foot, 2.5-story, single-family dwelling on the property located at 53 Concord Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K1205-31 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So Dick, would you mind describing the project to us?
Yes, we are in a flood zone, so we do have to elevate the house. I believe it's like probably 5 feet out of the ground. And it is basically a 2.5-story house. It's a little bigger than the one that was there. We are non-conforming now on our side dimensions, which we will still remain being non-conforming, but no worse than we are. And within that, we can get our 24-foot width, and the house happens to be 46 feet long, and it is a 2.5-story residence with a habitable, attic floor, which is under the, 2/3 regulation. So, I guess beyond that, it's pretty cut and dry. Not any dissimilar than other projects that have been approved. The same house exists on either side of it, pretty much, down in that area. Same size, same quality.
Any questions from the board?
I just had a quick one for Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, I assume you were out of the site at some point?
Have I what?
Gone out to the site?
I've been here, yeah.
I just looked online and it looks like the house to the east of it, as Dick said, a very similar house, has the same bump out stairs, which appear to go almost to the lot line. Any concern about access and egress through on the right side? I don't see an issue with them. Just
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a particular issue with that, and like I said earlier, generally the board has approved when elevating a house for flood zone reasons, they've approved the stairs going into the side setbacks.
I don't have any problem with the stairs going in. I'm asking if you have a question, is there any concern about access since the other set of stairs come right to the lot line, it looks like?
From the neighbors?
Yeah, from the
It's kind of, it doesn't really affect what these folks have, you know what I mean? So I can't really, I mean, if we have to just kind of deal with what their conditions are on their property. And, I can't really,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't, that's out of our purview when we're on.
I just don't know if you had a public safety question in terms of not being able to get anything back there.
no, not unless they bring it up to me, you know what I mean? I mean, it's a legal nonconformity essentially, so I can't really do anything.
If you're happy, I'm happy.
It gets interesting, Chris. We've had to approve additions on another property being torn down and rebuilt on another property, because that's where it is.
Just the existing home is on their neighbor's home.
Neighbors.
And it's not- So there have been, there really have been some major things,
Yeah, we did one, the only question was the shedding of the water, but they rebuilt it on neighbor's property.
Saved them from building a fence.
So 53 Concord Street, I did go out to this site as well, and it's a cute little cottage, and flanked by 2 others, so I don't have a problem with this particular project. How does the board feel? Good?
I'm fine.
I'm fine with it.
We're good? Okay. Okay. Any comments from the public? Again, press *6 if you'd like to be heard.
Yes,
Go ahead.
You had something else, Dick?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Did you have any more comments?
No, I don't. I think it's, pretty clear what we're asking for. There's no deck on the rear, it's just not what they were interested in their backyard. Their view is pretty much of the river off the front of the house. So, like I said, what's there, I think meets all the requirements and it's pretty standard, so,
Is the shed
from what the
remaining?
board's grouping.
Oh, sorry. Dick, is the shed going to remain on the property?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the board will not endorse the location of that shed?
Understood.
Understood, okay, and that will be a condition. What else? This. Comments from Bob on this? We have the deed,
Yep.
and we have the elevation. It's 135. It's not in the coastal wetlands. Dick, this isn't in the coastal wetlands, correct?
It is a flood zone.
It's not in the wetlands district.
And planning's all set.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty.
You're gonna have your 1 to whatever.
What?
You're gonna have the 1 to 10, whatever.
Yeah, I am. I asked the public, but Dick chimed in. I'm gonna ask the public one more time and then we'll go to close. Any comments from the public? Again, press *6 if you'd like to be heard. Alrighty. So I'd like to make a motion to close case 2142. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chris, aye. Heidi?
Larry.
I mean, sorry, Larry. Heidi?
We're both ayes.
Aye. Lynn, aye. Steve Feeney?
Aye.
And Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. So we're now closed. And so this is on, so Chris is voting on this. Okay. For keeping me in track. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit for case 2142 for 53 Concord Street, acknowledging that the board has reviewed and is in favor of the conditions 1 through 10 for a special permit for 10.12, and not endorsing the existing shed, as I said. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Heidi. All those in favor? Chris?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn, aye. Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Brian Murphy?
Aye.
All right. So Nancy's passed.
Love those.
Okay. One more. So we're on to 110 Ames Way. Do we have the
That
applicant?
is awesome.
Chris, I'm sorry, you're doing this one as well, Dick?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough.
It's stuck.
All right, this is case 21-43, Christopher and Sarah McNeil. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-11.09 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to create an approximately 150 square foot accessory apartment within the addition to be constructed on the property located at 110 Ames Way, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel F1501-08 and is located in an R1 zoning district. So, you have filled out the application for an accessory apartment,
Yes.
owner. You're you're requesting to extend a non-conforming structure off-street parking.
The structure is conforming.
Okay, what am I looking at here? As an R1, one family dwelling, it takes a special permit to alter or extend a non-conforming structure. Was your application, so I'm going to make an edit.
You know what that edit is?
Well, it looks like it meets all its setbacks.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
it's just their
created or what?
application
Correct.
was
Like
probably
the free-
Right, the house
Yeah,
needs,
they're not asking for a special permit for the addition.
So I'm looking at the special permit and
Accessory apartment.
can you share with me?
You just said they're asking for the addition because it's a special permit. I mean, they're not, they're asking
They're
for a
asking for a
special
special
permit.
permit because the addition is an accessory apartment.
Okay, so their
They want to
application.
create a residential accessory apartment in this new addition. So they're trying to do that with a special permit at the same time.
All at once. Well, they're not asking for a special permit for the addition.
No,
They're not,
They're
they're
voting on
asking.
they're going to propose to build an addition.
It's
And
not
they
built
want
yet.
that addition to be a residential accessory apartment. So they're asking for a special permit for the residential accessory apartment that's being proposed to be built.
They want the entire thing or part of it? The entire addition. Because the issue here is that there would be a time frame before they could apply for a permit to turn it into a, the addition wouldn't be a problem. It's just the fact that it's an
Yeah,
accessory unit,
our
correct?
bylaw has a clause about a
Well,
3-year.
why don't you throw it up there so we can look at it?
Yep,
All right.
I got it. So that's the issue, they want to
Sure.
the addition.
We
No,
had
no,
this
they want
in-
to do it to claim it.
We had this
It says
a
here, they want to go 150.
few hearings back as well.
Right, this is why I like to, you know, it's like
This addition
highly
is much bigger.
educated self, go over the language.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
Just whatever
You
you
just
say.
babbled it.
I said, wah, wah, wah.
Charlie's, okay, Charlie runs teachers here.
So it's just the explanation for number 1 on Form 2C is a little bit off. Okay, I can live with that.
Oh, you know what? The initially filed Form 2C, there should be accessory apartment application that wasn't filed with the initial filing. That may
Like
be
the
the
initial.
information, I apologize.
Okay.
It's like a piece of denim.
So Form 2E is a requested finding of facts for special permit residential accessory apartment.
So it's
305-11.09, ta-da. Adding 27%, which is under the 40%.
All right, so it's number 3, right?
No, the crux of the entire thing is number 6.
Oh, number 6, all right.
The dwelling must be in existence and not substantially altered for a period of 3 years prior to the filing of the application for special permit.
Right, so that's the important language right there, is prior to 3 years, prior to the filing. So before the filing, you can't make the alteration. If you read the language, that's what I read. Period of 3 years prior to the filing. So the filing is tonight, the alteration has not happened, the building has been standing, this was the argument 4 years ago, and the filing of the application is tonight. There has been no substantial alteration to the building as of the filing. That's how we read it,
That's how I interpret
that's how I
it.
read it.
So the question, there has been no building permits or requests or changes to this property?
Nope, they were waiting to get,
I think I have your
This
comments here
first.
someplace. Okay.
It's the language of that it's in dispute, and that's, they did it right, they filed prior to the application.
If you do it the other way, it's a catch-22. You can never put,
Right.
you can never put an apartment on it.
I know, this is another one of those things that
It's
I
one of-
definitely want to go
It
in
was
front of
already,
planning.
and they were, this was like something we talked about doing.
Yeah, we've been
This
talking
is-
about this for 4+
And we made
years.
some requests, so needs to become a priority,
Okay,
my
this is
mind,
up
for
to
this
Matt.
board.
Right.
That we need to address
This
how
is
to make this
the
work.
language. Why do we have to vote on it anyway?
We don't, because they don't, they shouldn't need it. I mean, they'll need the special permit, but that's it.
For the apartment only.
They would
Yeah,
need the
that's
special permit now, because if they go ahead, like,
And build it.
if they go ahead and build it, like the other one.
They just
that-
wend through
that just came
Andrew.
through,
I understand.
right?
Being- and then
And
Jim,
then that's a
3 years.
substantial alteration, and
It's-
they would have to wait
say
3
please,
years
not-
before
not
they
so.
apply for a special
Right.
permit.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right, it's just a matter of language and time.
But why do we have to make this a variance?
It's not a variance, it's a special permit.
I don't think that's what's written up as.
Special permit.
I think they asked for both.
There,
probably.
we'll check that off.
Hang on.
Bob, do you have any
I'm
comments?
sorry.
You've been
I gave
over
you,
this
I
so
gave you
many
my
times.
comments.
You're good, okay.
I gave you my comments. It doesn't sound like
Can I ask
anybody
you a
wants
question?
to hear them.
No, oh, listen to your comments, I just,
Because the bylaws like that, I
It's a
know, and I know
circular-
that it's very vague, it can be interpreted different ways.
It's actually very
Would-
purposeful. It's actually, I know it doesn't sound like that, but if you look at the beginning of the bylaw, it's to allow accessory apartments in existing structures. And they did not want people to extend homes and have larger accessory apartments, so they put this 3-year provision in so that people wouldn't expand their homes and then go out and get an accessory apartment in, and either get a larger accessory apartment or create one where they couldn't get one logically anyways.
So would someone need a variance in order to do that?
It's supposed to apply for variance. This has been the interpretation, at least the legal counsel's interpretation for the last 35 years.
one step out of one more time. Because if we already have a limit on the size of this, of the accessory apartment, you're not gonna, if you already have a structure that hasn't been changed, and you wanna apply for a special, an apartment, all right, an accessory apartment,
You can,
you can't.
right.
And there's already a size limit on it, so it's not like you can bump and bump and bump and bump up, which is what you seem to be suggesting is the object of the language. You're
Well-
already restricted.
It says the accessory apartment shall occupy no more than 40% of the total living area of the dwelling.
Okay.
If the total living area of this dwelling now is 2,500 square feet, and you expand it to 4,500 square feet, you're gonna have a much larger accessory apartment.
But that's a different issue.
But that's why this is in here. It's in here so that people don't expand their homes and then convert it immediately into a larger accessory apartment. It's intended to slow it down purposefully.
Understood, but that's not what's
Well-
happening here.
It says a dwelling must be in existence and not substantially altered for a period of 3 or more years prior to the filing of the application for a special permit.
Prior to the filing. This is the filing tonight. They're filing for a permit
I'm
tonight.
not telling you that's not the way to interpret it, in my view.
So
So,
that's how I see it.
look at, you're the board, you decide what you want.
And I think.
So there's a few
the argument that's
exception
more-
I think the bylaw needs to change, and
I
I think
agree.
everybody agrees to that, but this is how it's been
The
interpreted.
real question then to me,
Not for
in
the
terms
past
of.
4 years.
All right, let's say we take Brian's interpretation. Then the only question here is this more than 40%?
Correct.
So then, when you're talking about
40% of the
40%,
existing dwelling, or?
Yes,
Or-
40% of the existing.
so there's the dilemma, because you have 2,500 and then you add another 2,000, so now it's 40% of the 4,500 versus 40% of the 2,500.
That's Bob's issue.
And so it's not,
But this
so, but
application doesn't
his
say.
point takes care of that issue.
It does say 150 square feet, which is what the
It's
first thing
10
I
by
asked.
15, so I don't know.
That's the first thing I asked, is it 150 square feet?
So if you look at the purpose of the bylaw, subsection A, it's to allow the creation of an accessory apartment within an existing owner-occupied single-family dwelling. And I agree that there is an existing dwelling, but what they're proposing isn't in it.
No, I see your point, I mean.
That's right from the purpose of the bylaw, so.
But I think the reason.
I don't have any particular disagreement with, I don't like it, but it is what it is. And, you know, I've always taken the view, look at, I sat on that side for 20 years, and I argued for this thing, lost every single time. This board has decided differently. I've said my piece, if you decide to do it, and no one challenges it, then it's fine. But
I think we gotta match the.
I actually think the
around us.
text of the bylaw needs to change because people are not happy with it.
And I completely agree with that sentiment, because we end up, you know, the board will allow these additions that clearly are going to be accessory apartments, but they're not making
Identifying
of
them.
accessory apartments at the time. And I issue the permit and they do everything but put in a kitchen stove. And then we do our final inspection, they get their certificate of occupancy, and there's no like enforcement 3 years later, making sure that they're filing for a special permit to legalize it. And most likely, after I leave, they're going and getting a stove and putting it in.
Hot plate Genie.
And I'm not being able to inspect that, you know, so we're kind of leaving it open to a public safety issue, you
So
know,
how do you handle
in that
that?
regard.
Well, I think the main
We
reason.
have to have a bylaw change,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. And I think until that happens, I agree with Bob here, you know, after talking with him about this, in the purpose, it says, the creation of any accessory apartment within an existing owner-occupied single-family residence, okay? And so, in order to create a substantial alteration and have that be part of the special permit filing, I do feel it needs a variance to get past the purpose. Because, and they'll have to prove why it's necessary for them to have not wait the 3-year period.
You know,
Maybe
what-
that's a special circumstance with the family or whatnot, which the board has allowed in the past for.
There was a
for that.
handicap, wasn't there?
Alright,
Handicap.
We've had
You know, one
plenty
of the
of-
ways the board used to send a message to the planning board was to grant variances. And, you know, if you're really upset about this, you don't think it's worded right, grant the variance. But you're not necessarily doing them any favors if they go to sell this property and it
Exactly.
wasn't granted the proper way. Because a lot of closing attorneys don't pay attention, Steve, you can probably back me up, to whether there's zoning compliance here, but if this family went to sell it next year, and you granted them this, and someone looked at this and they compared it to the bylaw, you couldn't give a valid zoning opinion that it passed.
Right.
If you grant a variance, at least you've given them something that permanently runs with the property
Well,
that
we've
makes
had-
it zoning compliant.
We've had financing that has not gone through because it wasn't zoned properly for.
I mean, look at
accessory.
9 times out of 10, the closing attorneys don't pay attention to the zoning compliance of the structure.
But
But if someone's doing their job, they should be looking at it.
I just think this is here for an accessory apartment, the one that we see are for families in need of a sick family member, an incapacitated family member. They can't wait 3 years,
Well, then
build
they
the
come
thing and
back.
wait 3 years.
Then they come back for a variance because there's a hardship and there's something there's a reason for that.
I actually
What
think
is
you ought
Bob
to
just
give
said?
the applicant an opportunity to
that's
apply for
where
a variance.
that's where I'm
Not
leading
not
towards.
deny them the special permit, give
So-
them an opportunity to do it.
So we leave the record open, we continue it and request the
Doesn't
applicants.
sound like they have any opposition to it either.
Are they gonna have to
So
Dick, are you
publish
listening?
it?
what you're saying, if they apply for a variance, we just give them a variance on it, that
Well, we
makes it.
talk about giving them a variance.
Yeah.
He's saying that covers it legally. It says that now we've given them the ability to not wait 3 years.
No,
Yeah.
you've said I'm not enforcing the 3-year period.
Mhm.
We're waiving that.
Well, you're not waiving it, you're granting a variance because you believe that there's a lawful basis to do it.
If, yeah. if
The
they're not-
soil, definitely changed.
Well, I mean, I just think the last year we've gone through is enough for me to make that determination.
I
Yeah, we
had
don't
Instead of
know.
waiting 3.
So,
Yeah.
Dick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Were you able to hear Bob's comments and the board's comments?
80% of it,
Okay,
yeah.
so the gist is, it's our recommendation that we continue this hearing, and your application is just left open, and we,
When the microphone is that.
oh my gosh, I keep doing that. And we have an application for a variance.
Dick, the board is inviting you to apply for a variance.
If that's fine, if you think that's what needs to be done.
I think that's your best
I can get
bet.
a building permit, I can get a building permit to build this tomorrow.
Sure you can.
As a structure. The only thing we're really debating about, because the way this connects to the house and the parents live in there, and they are kind of displaced at the moment. So, but you're right, the only issue is the whole thing of a stove and a kitchen and being an accessory unit. I've probably done these around town, you know, a half a dozen a year for the last 20 years. And eventually they go in and ask for, you know, to be an accessory dwelling. I mean, you know, whether or not someone puts a stove in or doesn't put a stove in, that seems to be the whole crux of this. But I can add a bedroom on this house, the septic system works. You know, so a lot of times I've just done it as a bedroom and a family room. And it's never been an issue. How people use it is up to their discretion, but I kind of agree that, I mean, it's kind of the way of the world. You know, that people need a place for parents and stuff, so however you'd like me to apply for it, but once again, I can still go in tomorrow and get a building permit to build this structure, I just have to alter my plan. So, I mean, I think the board needs to keep that in mind, because there's nothing, I meet all the setbacks and everything, it's really of use. And I understand the bylaws. Probably my own cousin's house I did 25 years ago. And 3 years later, they went in for their, you know, for their accessory dwelling. But, you know, they just needed the families needed to unite,
Right.
you know, out of necessity, economic necessity, so.
The acreage is correct on this, right? It's 3 acres.
Pardon me?
You have the 40,000 square feet, I think I recall.
Yeah, we
3
meet all the
acres or something.
requirements.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And I'm under the 40%, so, I mean, all the requirements are met, other than the viewpoint of the 3 years, and, you know, I've heard it the last couple of months that, well, the house has been in existence. You know, the dwelling has been in existence, not necessarily the addition. So, you know, I agree with Andrew, it's something the board has to, we were hoping that was gonna come up as a zoning issue at a town meeting or whatever to really address it, but Marshfield's one of the only towns where it's not immediately allowed. I mean, any other town, they might have restrictions on size of square footage or percent of the total, you know, living space. A lot of towns have the 40%, but a lot of them don't have any zoning. You just basically show that you meet those requirements. And once again, it's just with our aging, you know, elderly members in the community here, people need to consolidate.
Okay.
Well, retiring in place.
So Nancy,
Yeah.
for a variance
Yeah.
for the 22nd?
I'm not,
I would need an application by Tuesday the 15th, an early deadline next week,
So-
for July 13th.
Did you hear that, Dick? Nancy would need
no,
your
I think,
application. Go ahead, Nancy, say it loud and clear.
The application needs to be in July, I'm sorry, Tuesday, June 15th. It's a day early this time because of the Juneteenth holiday that Marin is closed. And that would be for the July 13th hearing.
okay. As I said, we can go apply for a building permit, so it's not necessarily holding me up, it's more of the viewpoint of how this building gets used.
Yep.
On paper,
Okay.
because I will build it and they will live in it, it's just, the reality is, what do we want to call it, and how do you do that?
All right. Thank you, Dick. So we're going to make a suggestion that we continue to July 13th on case 2143. Are you on board, Dick?
Yeah,
Okay. So,
okay,
could I have a second to
Second.
continue that? Second by Heidi. All those in favor? Lynn Fiddler? I'm sorry, let's go back to what we usually do. Chris?
All right.
Larry?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Lynn? Aye. Steve?
Aye.
And Brian?
Aye.
All right, we're good. All right. Nancy, is there anything else we need to do? So we'll see you on July 13th. Dick, get your stuff to Nancy on by June 15th,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
okay,
Yep,
thank you.
excellent, thank you.
And thank you for being also, you all have a good night.
Same to you. What? The August hearing is what, the 4th?
Tuesday.
I want to say it's the 12th or something.
That probably sounds good. Might be the 11th.
Well, let's do the 10th then. the second Tuesday. Okay, thank you, everybody. Any further comments this evening?
I will not be here on Sunday.
Heidi will not be here August 10th. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Heidi. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you for your help in the back of the room. See, what's your name again?
Kyle.
Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. Thank you.